Welcome to the Axecast. This is the Sunday, February 18th, 2024 edition of the Axecast. I'm your host, Caleb Cohn, along with my co-host, Eric Parmenter and Luke Inamark. Guys, that is the home stretch for the NBA teams now here in the All-Star break once teams resume play after a couple days break. Grizzlies seem to be all but tanking with this revamped roster that Kleiman has put into effect over the past couple weeks. A lot of new names that us Grizzlies fans are not accustomed to seeing. What are y'all's takeaways? What are y'all's thoughts for the season as it seems like it'll be winding down over these next couple months?
Yeah, it's been an unfortunate season. I think there was a moment of time, specifically when Ja came back and we had hope again, and then when he got hurt, I feel like all Grizzlies fans for that like week to 2 week period were just as down in the dumps as you could be and had no hope about the future or anything. And this whole season was a throwaway waste, and it was tough. And I definitely fell into that. I was so down on the Grizzlies, as frustrating it was that all of our guys were out, and it was tough being a Grizzlies fan. But I think the last month of basketball has been promising because, I mean, for more than a month, Vince Williams has emerged as a guy that will be a legitimate help to this roster. Prototypical 3-and-D guy, always just making hustle plays, getting some steals, getting a block, can knock down a three. And he's shown a lot more playmaking with the ball in his hands than I thought he had in his bag. You know, I've been a Vince Williams stan for a while. I had stock in him, but he never really had a chance. But it's been awesome to see him emerge. And then recently, Gigi Jackson, someone who was such an odd he has such an odd journey, being so young and a lot of potential at South Carolina, but getting into some issues off the court at South Carolina, having some like team chemistry issues, just never really shot up draft boards, and he like reclassified. And if he wouldn't have reclassified, he would have been a much higher pick in this draft. But seeing him just getting some run with the hustle and putting up some big games, and then being able to come play with the Grizzlies and not just play well, but he's had multiple 20-plus point games. And every time he plays on TNT, he turns into an all-star. And so that's been crazy. He's also very raw. He's very young, but you could see scoring ability. It looks to me he's trying on defense and making some plays on that end of the ball. He's definitely young and has some stupid shot selections or a bad turnover here or there. But again, he's just another kid that like the Grizzlies hit on. And so basically what I'm trying to say is you figured those two guys out, then you wouldn't have had that happen onto your lap per se. If we had a normal Grizzlies season where we win 50-plus games and we're just getting geared up for the playoffs. So as bad as the circumstances are, that's been a little bright spot. And there's some other guys too that we can maybe talk about here in a little bit, specifically like Scott Pippen Jr., Lamar Stevens, and we can maybe get into like y'all's opinions on that and who we keep on roster next year once everyone's healthy. But yeah, I guess the main takeaway is disappointing this year has been this last month and week has been like refreshing to see this team just no matter who's out there competing, having fun. And, you know, now we have a lot more assurity. Is that a word? Assurity?
Assurance.
I think that's the word. Assurant?
Yeah, maybe.
Assurance.
Maybe. I'm trying to say, like, we have a lot more clarity, I guess, at the wing position outside of our starting unit. So, yeah, that's my thoughts.
Yeah, I agree with all that, Eric. It's really been a wacky start to the first half of the season for sure. I was not expecting this. Like, even in the opening of the season when Morant was going to be out, I kind of was optimistic. I thought like this will be good for like some other like lesser players to get an opportunity to have a bigger role. So then maybe they'll be like ready for the playoffs. But then like we all know how Morant comes back and he's out for the season, so it's a big waste. But I have been really like pleased with the. I mean, I think they were on like a 9-game losing streak until recently, but it looks like they're competing, and I think that the like fight looks almost better than it was during the 25 games without Ja. And they have like even less players now. Everybody's injured. There's like the whole 13 to 15 guys are out like some games. So and then like Vince Williams and GG Jackson, like if you're gonna take anything positive away, like Vince Williams looks like they both got new like multi-year deals. So Williams is gonna be I think a big part of the team. And then Jackson is like so much potential. Like I was hoping for Zaire Williams preseason to show something like promising. And then yet again, like I mean, he had a good game recently, but like it's just so inconsistent and he's injured. So it's tough with him. But like worst comes to worst, like we did just probably get GG Jackson for long term. Maybe he'll develop into something that we really could use. Vince Williams looks like he's already a great player. But one thing that was really interesting to me about how this trade deadline was we traded away Steven Adams, which was really tough to see. Like such a like fun guy to root for and watch play. And it's just so like sad to see like all the injuries in the past like year and a half. Like, you keep telling him like he's going to be reevaluated, he's going to come back, and then it just keeps like he's playing in the preseason, and then like you think he's going to come back, and then next thing you know, out for the season again. So that was really like frustrating. But then what was really interesting to me was doubling down and then trading Tillman as well. Which is like now those were our two centers. So like we also got rid of Bismack earlier, who I was glad to see. But like I was also sad to see Tillman go. I'll always remember his 3-pointer against Golden State that really propelled us to win the play-in game. So
which legend has it that was the only 3-pointer he ever hit in Memphis uniform.
Don't do that. Don't do that to X.
Yeah. I do think he normally was not so good at those, but I remember that one.
That was a big one.
Yeah. So I think like this now we got a hole that probably needs to be addressed in the off season. And what's like promising, I think, is like we're gearing up, I think, to make a big like this off season is the off season. Like we've been waiting for a while, and I think like they're doing it. Like this time is now. So I guess they got all these picks. They got rid of lots of players and salary. So keep an eye out for that.
Yeah. Yeah, back to GG. I think it's just crazy that he's like 3 years younger than us, 3.5 years younger than us, and he's like dropping 25 plus. He now holds the top 2 scoring records for most points off the bench at like 19 years old, something like that. Like past Kobe's record, I think is what it was. So, yeah, and people like I've heard if GG was like still at South Carolina and was in this upcoming draft class, he would be like a lottery pick. So it's kind of a King Kleiman strikes again. I mean, clearly. So yeah, there was like the little bit of issue because he got suspended. Was it the Houston game, right? Where he missed, or maybe it was the game before the Houston game. But I think it was just like he was constantly like late to stuff. So I don't know. I don't think it's like that big of a deal. Hopefully not. But anyways, yeah, He looks great. Like the way that he's able to like put the ball on the floor and like finish at the rim and smooth stroke, like all of that. And you're just like, he's 19. Like this looks like a 26-year-old player, you know? So, um, yeah, it's so exciting to have a good rookie because there's still so much uncertainty because it's like, how good can he be?
He's
So,
so young.
yeah, like the fact that he's just that
He's
young
like
is
the youngest in the whole NBA.
that's
Yeah.
crazy. That's crazy. So, yeah, that's something that we can definitely look forward to. Yeah, we already touched on the Steve-O thing. Trading away X. Um, so I guess, and I agree with what you were saying, Luke, because about like this team trying and just like and fighting night in, night out. It was what 9 games is what the losing streak got up to before we won the last two against Houston and Milwaukee. But man, like at the beginning of the season, like when we started out, like what 0-6 and like two, like started out 2 for 10, something like that. Like, I mean, that team was just waiting for John Morant to get back on the court and had no fight. And at that time, the roster was much more talented than the players that we're putting on the court now. I mean, now it's no Marcus Smart. Bain has been out for a couple months. Jaren is really the only consistently good player that's been out there. Kennard's been there, like, but he's still like missed some time. So, but yeah, I mean, they're still fighting. But honestly, like, I'm at the point now where, and I know this draft isn't going to be good at all. I've actually heard it's supposed to be like a terrible draft, but I mean, I don't know. At this point, I think we're out of contention for the playoffs. So I just don't want anybody else getting hurt.
Yeah.
So, um, there were reports earlier in the season that we were supposed to get Brandon Clark back before the All-Star break. That didn't happen. So I guess they're just gonna like shut him down. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know.
He's working out with Jaren. Where were they? Turks and Caicos, something.
I
Somewhere
saw that video.
wherever they're vacationing right now during the All Star break. So I mean, I guess Brandon is ready to go, but like at this point, is it even worth putting him out there?
I would say yes. I think just because of his unique situation, his value he brings on an NBA court is being a pogo stick and being able to do those little floaters and getting up and get boards. Like it's a very unique asset to have. And having that severe of an injury, the Grizzlies need to know, like, is he going to come back and be the same Brandon Clark? And I feel like it would be better for him to get run and work through those growing pains of getting back in NBA shape during a season that is pretty much lost for all purposes. Like we're still going to try to be competitive and have fun, but it wouldn't be the worst thing if we lose some games and get a better pick potentially. But I would say try to work him in. Doesn't mean he has to play every game. Do some like D Rose load management where he'll play like out of a 5-game sample, he plays 2 or 3. Like you can do something like that just to get him back up and running. But it's just with this team, the most frustrating thing about the Memphis Grizzlies organization is the lack of clarity when it comes to injuries. They never give like actual timelines that match up. They always just keep everyone in the dark and never want to say anything. But like Kleiman said in his post-deadline interview, he was like, "Yeah, we'd like to get Brandon Clark back, and we expect." I don't know if he said we expect or we hope that we get Brandon Clark back to play some games at the end of this year. So according to him, that's the plan. But like, how many times we've heard Taylor Jenkins or Zach Kleiman make statements about players' injuries, and then the opposite happens. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I was like prepared to say like let's not bring him back. It's not worth it. But then I liked your argument. You might have changed my mind. Like this, the season kind of, you could say it'd be really tough to get back into, like, the play-in makes it easier, but still we're pretty far back. So like this would be a good chance for him to like get back into form with like low stakes. I guess like what I was gonna say was like we got to make sure he's absolutely healthy. We don't need to rush him back, but like if he's good to go, then of course let's get him like ready to play again. And like another thing is like Clark's not the only one who's probably should be returning from injury before the season's over. Like Bain and Smart probably should be able to come back if they're like, unless like what you're saying, Eric, and like their timelines just like weren't right. But
Yeah.
like probably like you would have expected them to come back before the season's over. So how is that going to shape out as well? So I don't know.
It's just a tough thing to like navigate because like you never want to operate under the assumption that your players are going to get injured. Like you never want to like not play your players for risk of getting injured, like in most situations. Like, but we've just had such bad luck that like you kind of have to operate under that. Like you have to at least be more conscious about it and be like, all right, is it really worth playing Desmond Bain and Marcus Smart and Brandon Clark at the end of the season? But like at the same time, like you have season ticket holders that care about the Memphis Grizzlies and fans that want to go to FedEx Forum and watch the Grizzlies play, and like they're paying money to see a great product on the court. So like you also have to take that into consideration as an organization. But like we've just had such bad injury luck that like you can't rule anything out. Like anyone can get injured at any point with this team. So I don't know. Do you want to segue into any of the other players potentially that have been recently added to the team? Luke, was there any one of the recent players that have caught your eye?
I'll say Scottie Pippen. I think like he's very explosive and shifty. Like I have liked watching him. But still, I think we have a lot of players already, so like maybe they'll change my mind by the end of the season. But I personally think we should just kind of thank them for their help this year and then move back on to other guys. I mean, like if you're talking about like the two-way guys that we've added with all these hardship deals and things like that.
Yeah, Caleb, what do you think about that? Like a Scottie Pippen, a Lamar Stevens, or like a Jemison?
I cut out there for a while. I don't know if y'all saw that, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think the Scottie Pippen thing, I haven't watched much of him. I've only really been able to like catch the highlights since he's been on the roster. But I don't know. Like the Lamar Stevens, again, like my whole perspective has been changed since the Lakers series, and it's like, can this person provide meaningful minutes in playoff games? And I'm just not sure I'm there yet with pretty much all of those guys. Like Scottie Pippen, maybe. Like, maybe he could hold it down. Like if Marcus Smart doesn't want to play point guard while Ja is on the bench. Like, sure, I guess. But like for the rest of these guys, I'm just like, man, I'd like if you're going up against an Anthony Davis, Nikola Jokic, a Karl Anthony Towns, like name whoever that you'll be facing in the West in the playoffs. Like, I don't know, I'm not liking those odds. So, I mean, I hate to like be negative, but I don't know. I think Kleiman could. I honestly, I kind of feel like these late edition roster moves, like yes, Kleiman had to bring some people on the roster because we're so crazy injured, but like the Tillman move, I don't know. It's like the picks, they're not like amazing picks. It's just I don't know. I feel like it's just kind of a move to figure out the rest of our players on the roster, like you guys were talking about, and probably get some better draft picks, in this upcoming draft. So, I don't know. I think the clear bright spots and like keepers of like who the people that you are looking at this roster thinking we can add to this for next year and years after for playoff runs are Vince Williams. That's a new addition this year. Gigi Jackson. That's a new addition this year. And I mean, besides the people that we brought in, signed over the offseason, I'm not really sure. I think
We
the
haven't
jury's
had a hot take in a while. So
What's
I have
that?
a hot take. I said we haven't had a hot take in a while, so I have a hot take.
Okay.
It is Sunday, February 18th at 11:27 p.m. Eastern Time. And I'm making a declaration that Lamar Stevens will not only be a Memphis Grizzly next year, but he will play rotation playoff minutes off the bench. Here's why. I've seen a lot of Cavs basketball as a Ohio resident. Last year, he was a pretty big part of their team off the bench. He has a role. Yes, he's not someone that is a starter that can come in and like blow you away, but he does a lot of the little things, like kind of Vince-esque. And I've seen every game that he's played with the Grizzlies, and I've seen him play like 20 plus games with the Cavs. Everyone, if you've heard anyone talk about Lamar Stevens, like from anywhere he's been, they all love him. Donovan Mitchell, you can go look it up. I think it might have been Chris Vernon. I saw it on one of his episodes, just a video of Donovan Mitchell saying like how much he meant to that team, being a locker room guy and being just a dog. Like he's a dog. Like he's the guy that's jumping into the stands to get a loose ball. He's the guy that the other night he had to guard on back-to-back nights. He had to guard like Giannis, and he had to. Who was the other? What was the team he played before the Bucks?
The
Rockets.
Rockets. Yeah, he guarded Giannis and Sengun and someone else, and he was giving them fits. Like defensively, that's like his biggest asset is he's very switchable as a defender, and he's a dog. And he could also knock down open threes at a decent enough clip. I know that this sounds a little out there, but I've seen it. I've seen him play, and I've loved go look at how he's played with the Grizzlies so far. He's been great, and everyone like I'm just thinking like of our bench guys for next year, right? That we're talking about who are the guys you can trust. Like it's gonna be like Brandon Clark, it's gonna be Gigi, Vince, Aldama. If you're still in on Aldama, I'm wavering a little bit on my Aldama stock. So there's not like again Zaire. You never know what you're getting with Zaire. He had a great night against the Bucks, but that's been it. So I would advise you guys to look into Lamar Stevens, and we'll see how the rest of this year plays out. But that's my hot take. We haven't had a hot take in a while. I think he's going to be a big part of this team next year off the bench.
But Giannis killed us in that game. Like
he wasn't the primary defender on him the whole time, but there's moments where I don't know. You just have to watch him. Next time you watch a Grizzlies game, just specifically focus on Lamar Stevens. He does the little things. I could be wrong. This is my hot take. And the other guys, like Scotty's been good. I don't know if we'll end up keeping him. What's your guys' opinion on Gilliard? Like, I actually really like Gilliard, but like it's weird that he's just so small that in the playoff time you can't play him just because any team will be able to exploit him.
You can definitely shoot it well.
We just have a bunch of what?
But he shoots it really good.
Yeah, I mean, but to Caleb's point, it comes down to in the playoffs when you're playing in a 7-game series, when teams find any little mismatch or thing to pick out about you can't have Jacob Gilliard as your backup point guard just because he's so small. Like, it's not going to work. But I don't know. I just feel like we have a bunch of weird, like, cool new toys that, like, the end of this season is just going to be like, all right, who are we going to rock with? Now we have Yuta on our team again too, which is interesting. So, like, I don't know. We just have a bunch of, like, guys that are playing good for us, but, like, how much of it is just they're playing good right now and, like, they're playing outside of their capabilities, and how sustainable is it? So that's why, like, I think, Caleb, you made this point. Like, the beginning of this season was brutal, like, watchability wise. I actually like that, like, this version of the Grizzlies, like, I'm excited to watch a game. Like, even though, like, I get to watch Vince and Gigi and Jaren play, and now there's these new people, like, players off the bench, Kennard, of course. Like, this is a fun team right now, and so that's good enough for me for this season.
There might be a little recency bias in that, though, because we won the last 2, but we lost the last 9 before that.
Yeah, but even those games,
you're right. Like, at the beginning of the season, it was like they don't want to play. I don't want to watch.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't know. We'll see. This is a big off season for us. Like Luke said, moving off of Tillman and Adams. I mean, it's setting up that we're going to sign a big. Like, we're going to sign a big of some sorts this offseason.
You got to get a big that can allow Jaren to roam and play the 4, and preferably, ideally, be able to finish lobs from Ja. That is the big man that you would like a Derek Lively type big. That is what you want.
Yeah, I want to hear your guys' list of guys you'd like to fill that spot. I have one guy on my list, and that's Nick Claxton. But I need to do more exploring as to, like, who would be available in free agency or if we'd have to do a trade. That's the guy I would like. But the Nets front office is, like, unworkable with how they value their players, considering we offered, 4 or 5 first-round picks for Michael Bridges, and they turned it down. And then they wanted, like, at least 2 first-round picks for Dorian Finney-Smith. It's like, what are we doing? Like,
yeah.
So that aspect of it, I don't like. I don't think it might be feasible with that current front office. But Nick Claxton, I think he fits all the needs. So who are some guys you guys are looking at?
I think, like, this could be, like, a thing we could use our draft pick for if we keep it. Like, also, like, I feel like we've been seeing stuff about Capella is like not, like, the Hawks don't totally want him. I don't know.
The Hawks need to blow it up.
Yeah.
I wouldn't hate that.
I have no idea, honestly. Like, Claxton is a good name. Capella would be a decent name. He's used to finishing those lobs from Trey. Claxton is an elite shot blocker as well. He's always up there in the blocks leaders per game. So that would be great. I couldn't even think of any other names because I really just don't know who's available in free agency. And like I said, everybody that I listened to has said that this is like an all-time bad draft coming up. So it may be, like, not great as far as being able to draft a big man. But if it's a high enough pick, it might be worth it. Might be worth a shot. But yeah, definitely that's the big answer going in, because I think we solved one answer. in that you need the scoring wing. And I think we probably found that in Gigi Jackson. So yeah, you need the big that can allow Jaron to roam and finish lobs from Ja. Like that would unlock a new facet to Ja's game that like he hasn't had, where when he drives into the lane, instead of taking that mid-range floater, if he can just dump that off as a lob, like we haven't, that would just unlock so much for him because it's usually like if Ja's gonna pass it, he's gonna have to kick it over to the wing to somebody. So he's gonna have to kick it out to the 3-point line. So like now, if you can change that to where he can throw it up for a lob, that's scary.
I've seen a lot of people on Grizz Twitter talking about Andre Drummond. I don't see it. I mean, he's just old. Like I get like he's still getting a lot of boards, but like how much of it is like, look, you're playing on the Chicago Bulls, like you'll get some opportunity to get rebounds and like try to stat pad. Like I'm not trying to take anything away from him, but I just think if you're trading Steven Adams, who was when he was on the court, who was very impactful for this team in so many different ways, you're not filling it with a Andre Drummond. Like, come on. But another guy that just came to my mind was Jalen Duren. I don't know how realistic that would be just because the Pistons, like,
yeah, they're one
like they'd want to keep him.
He's a rising star.
Yeah, it'd be very tough, but that would be a really nice fit. But I have a quick question for you guys. We could rehash this trade. Did we lose the Steven Adams Valanciunas swap? Or like how do you grade that today? And would you like to still have Jonas on the roster?
What's like? Can you do you have that trade off the top of your head? Because I don't.
It was like the 10th pick. We got Zaire Williams with that too.
No, what picks? What else do we give up?
We gave up like the 17th pick. So I think they drafted Herb. No, they drafted like Trey Murphy, and we got Zaire Williams.
Yeah, so we traded Steven Adams, or we got Steven Adams, Eric Bledsoe, and 2 future first-round picks, including the 10th pick.
So Zaire
for Jonas, the 17th overall pick. Yeah. So we got Zaire, and they got like Trey Murphy, and yeah. So yeah, I mean,
I'll say like I would make that trade again, like because like I would rather have Trey Murphy than Zaire Williams right now for sure, and also like you just like don't know like when you get those picks like if they're gonna turn out to be good or not. And also, you don't know that Steven Adams is going to like go into like the ether with his whatever his knee problem was. So, like, if Steven Adams remained healthy, yeah, I would love to have that. Like, I would still like to have him on the team. And also, like, if we had hit on this 10th pick, I would like that too. But just things didn't work out, I guess. But at the time of making it, we couldn't predict that. But if what you're getting at is like. Now in hindsight, like, yeah, I agree. Things kind of like didn't work out so great.
And I think like you still probably do. Well, you have to keep in mind that the Jonas trade was kind of reactionary because the end of that Utah series for Jonas was so bad. Like he just got played off the court. So it was kind of like, well, that's not going to happen again. But you still need an elite screen setter for Ja. Like you still need somebody to be able to play the high pick and roll for our best player. So that's why you still get the Steve-O thing. But I don't know. Yeah, I agree. I think you still do it. And because it's picks for Kleiman, which he loves to, he trusts himself well enough that he can hit with the draft picks. So let's basically swap elite screen setter for elite screen setter and get some better picks. So yeah, I mean, I still think you'd do it. And honestly, like I think Steven would definitely still be on the roster if he was healthy. Like
Yeah.
if his knee was not just crazily misdiagnosed, I think he's still a part of this team.
Yeah, I think those are fair points. Like no one could have expected that Steven Adams scenario health wise. And when he did play, he was very impactful. Yeah, this off season, I'm really excited to see what we do with that spot because, I mean, if we do it right and we get a guy that could really complement Ja and Jaren, like again, if we're healthy, like we have the players, like I feel like if we're healthy, I'm excited to see what that looks like. It feels like an eternity when we've seen a full healthy Grizzlies roster play, and now we add Marcus Smart into the mix with those guys. So it'd be exciting to see what that would look like.
Definitely.
Yeah. For sure. Did y'all have anything else that y'all wanted to add Grizzlies wise?
I don't think so.
I
I'm
can't
trying to think. I think those were good points you made about the draft this year, Caleb. Like it's going to make it hard. Like if our plan is to trade that pick, it's going to be hard to get value for it. So like that is going to be like an interesting scenario to see if we do end up taking that pick and using it. Or I know there's a lot of people that want to trade it, which I'm probably in that boat too. But it's like if the draft isn't great, I don't know how much value we'll get out of it, but it's better than nothing. I don't know.
Right.
I hope we use it. I want to see another like lottery pick.
Yeah, it depends on how high it could be, right? I mean, what are we third to last in the West, right? It's only the Spurs and who else behind us?
I think I read somewhere that there's like a high percent chance, maybe like 80+% chance that we end up drafting. Like it falls between like 6 and 10, I think. Like that's the most likely range. But again, like when we drafted Ja, we weren't projected to get the second overall pick.
Yeah.
So we can get some luck again and strike gold, but who knows?
Right. Yeah, the thing is, like, there's no Zion Williamson, there's no Victor Wembanyama in this draft, where it's just like a slam dunk. Like, gotta get this guy. But I mean, if you look at the standings, we're 19 and a half games back. The only teams behind us are Portland and San Antonio. And then looking at the East, technically the Nets, Raptors, Hornets, Wizards, and Pistons. So that's 5. So that's 7 teams combined that right now have better odds than us. So right now we have the 8th best odds.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think you bring up a great point too, Eric. Like, it's probably just best to, if it's not that good, if you don't feel like you can get somebody that can contribute immediately, I say let's move on. And because I mean, our window is open now, and each season that you waste is a massive what if, just like this season is. I mean, it didn't waste. It's just cookie crumbles sometimes, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I feel like that's why Kleiman decided to move on from Steven Adams. Like in hindsight, even though he's projected to be healthy next year, like we can't keep taking these risks on him. We have to be able to have some sort of safety net, or just like we can't just risk it on Steven. Like he was great for us, but I feel like he's putting all of his chip. Like maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like this offseason, it feels like all the moves we made were to get more salary flexibility. We're loaded with a lot more picks now. I feel like they're just setting up to have an offseason where we make some big moves, specifically at center and maybe some other pieces. Moving on from Roddy too, like I don't know. I just feel like we're set up for. I would say I would be very disappointed if we go into the season next year and we moved on from Steven Adams and Xavier Tillman and we're trotting out Jaren at the 5 with no other backup option other than like Trey Jamison, or if we added like a backup center, like I feel like we have to get a center, like a starting caliber center at the minimum. And I think we are.
I agree. Like, we could do more, but we really need that.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm just happy Luke Kennard survived the trade deadline. There's a lot of people putting him on trade machines, and I was not happy.
Same with Smart. A lot of people are wanting to trade Smart.
Smart's great. He played great for us. Like once he got back from his finger issue, whatever that was, he started shooting the ball well, and he's a dog.
Yeah, I think like we now kind of have a lot of guards though on the roster. Like
Way too many guards.
yeah,
Gilliard, let's just go through them. Like Gilliard, Rose, Smart, Ja, Bain. I mean,
Conchar.
I mean, these are all shooting guards, point guards.
Vince Williams,
Conchar, Kennard, Zaire, Scottie Pippen,
Scottie Pippen,
Lamar Stevens.
Stop.
Yuta Watanabe.
Okay, these are just forwards that you're naming now.
I think Williams counts to that if you didn't put a finger up for him.
Just put everyone. Jaren. Is Yuta a forward?
I don't know.
Bro, Yuta's like 6'8".
Yuta's a guard. I think Yuta's a guard. I'm looking this up. He's got to be a guard.
Hey, don't forget, Yuta is the one that let Ja have 12. So
go.
Yep.
It's in a Beyond Grit, if you don't believe me.
He's listed as a small forward. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, he's like 6'8", bro.
He acts like a guard. He just runs around and shoots.
Y'all want to revisit our NBA preseason standings predictions from beginning of the season?
We all had the Grizzlies up there, didn't we?
Y'all have y'all's pulled up?
No.
Y'all find y'all's?
Let me see.
Because we're at the NBA stretch, which is what, like 70% of the way through the season, and there's usually not too much turnover at this point in the NBA season. The top of the West is crazy tight, like the top 4 seeds all within 3 games of each other. So there might be some turnover there, but you kind of know who teams are at this point. You do know who teams are at this point, so
I can't find where mine is.
Yeah, I couldn't find mine either.
I kind of felt like I put one thing I did okay was I put the Thunder up there, but I definitely put the Timberwolves at the very bottom, if anything.
Yeah, me too. I remember that. Yeah. Caleb, do you have yours?
Yeah, dude, this is rough.
At least you have it. So,
all right. So the West. Oh man. Okay, West. I got first place Kings. I was thinking they were gonna repeat their crazy success from last year. They're currently the 8th seed. Second seed, I had the Grizz. Currently the 13th seed. 3, I had the Nuggets. They're 4th right now.
That's good.
4, I had the Warriors, who are 10. 5, I had the Suns, who are 5th. 6th, I had the Thunder, so I was sleeping on the Thunder. They're currently second. 7, I had the Lakers. I was too high on the Lakers. And, they're currently the 9th seed. 8, I had the Clippers, who are, since the James Harden trade, are playing out of their mind, and they're now the 3rd seed in the West. 9, I had the Pelicans, who are the 6th, and then 10, I had the Mavericks, who are 7th. The one that I just huge swing and a miss on, which I feel like is everybody's, the Timberwolves. Just huge swing and a miss on the Timberwolves.
Yeah.
Not even on my list, and I had them out of the play-in, and they are 1st seed in the West.
Yeah.
So, huge swing and a miss on that one. But this is why you tuned into the Axecast. The elite sports knowledge that we have. All right, I have my E's. Were y'all able to find y'all's?
No,
I couldn't find mine.
Dang.
I thought I put it in my notes app, but I don't see it in there.
Me neither.
Dang.
Let's do the East.
Okay. The East is probably not any better. See if y'all can you can search in the notes app. Anyways. Okay, so East. Number 1, I had Celtics. All right. Which Celtics are firmly number 1. Number 2, I had the Bucks, who are 3, and kind of in a tailspin ever since they fired their head coach, even though he had a good record, and now Doc Rivers is there and they suck. I don't know. That was really weird. But I had them at 2, and they're 3. Cavs, I had at 3, and they're 2. So just swap the Bucks and Cavs. 4, I had the Heat, who are 7th. Always have more faith in Eric Spoelstra and Heat culture. So I had them at 4, but they're a little underwhelming at 7 this year. 5, I had the Knicks, who are 4th. 6, I had the 76ers, who are 5th. And then 7, I had – oh, man, that was bad. I had the Wizards. That's a huge swing and a miss. Wizards are they have 9 wins. The Wizards have 9 wins. They're
against Memphis.
They're 33.5 games behind.
I went to
that was a frustrating game.
Oh,
That was the lowest point.
That was terrible.
That was awful.
Yeah, that was bad. The 8, I had the Pacers, my Indiana Pacers, who are 6. And then 9, I had Raptors, who are 11th. And 10, I had the Magic, who were having a great season. And I feel like now they're kind of coming down to earth a little bit, but they're at 8. So my East was better, but huge swing and miss on the Wizards. Yeah, my West was pretty ugly though.
You got to take some chances. That's what happens.
Jordan Poole turned into Shelvin Mack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which crazy. I saw Shelvin Mack on he's an analyst for CBS Sports for basketball, in their studio.
That's awesome.
There was some game that was on and they cut to halftime and it was Shelvin Mack and I started dying laughing.
That's funny.
I need to see that. Could you still beat him in a?
Yes.
Bro, y'all ever listen to the Tuesdays with Tony's with Chris Vernon? Right. I was listening to the last episode that they had, and Vernon was walking through the entire, I think it was 16-17 roster where we set the record for most players on an NBA roster. And Vernon was just asking Tony Allen what he thought about every single player. And he's just comedy, dude. He's so funny. I forgot who he was talking about. But Vernon was like, what about this guy? He was like, oh man, a buddy could stand up and scratch his knees. Tony Allen is
so funny.
He'd be like, oh man, James Ennis owes me 20 racks or something.
James Ennis.
Remember James Ennis
James
like
Ennis.
getting a chance to tie a game and put it to overtime?
Yes.
He, like barely grazed the front.
Yes.
Airball.
Yes. You remember his brother went to
What
school
game
with
was
him?
that?
Yeah. I feel like I was against the Nuggets, but I don't remember.
I thought it was against the Wizards.
Oh, you could be right.
I don't know. I don't remember.
The
I do remember
airball.
his brother like really liking James Ennis.
Yeah. And then like after that shot, we would just be like, we thought it was like, I remember it was like, oh, it's kind of cool to like go to school with like somebody whose brother's in the NBA. But then like after that James Ennis shot, I was like, yeah, not anymore. It's not cool anymore.
Not cool.
It was like everything aligned so perfectly for him to have a three to tie it. It was the worst thing ever.
It was like the whole world stopped. It was like in slow motion. He airballed it.
Yeah. Hopefully he doesn't watch this episode.
Yeah, I'm confident. That's it. Yeah. Dang.
Who do you guys think's gonna win it all this year?
Ooh.
Maybe Memphis will have to wait till next year to win it.
Yeah.
Maybe the Clippers.
I just don't think James Harden's gonna win a ring. A team with James Harden, like
And Russell
once the playoffs come,
Possible.
but that, I mean, they're playing very well. They are.
Maybe the Celtics or the Nuggets.
Just any team with James Harden. I think mine picks the Nuggets. Again, I feel like once the playoffs start and Jokic like cares about basketball, he'll be really good.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are high on the Celtics this year. I'm not one of those guys. Or I mean, they're very good.
Tillman might put him over the top.
I mean, the Celtics are very good, and they're probably going to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, but I just don't think they can do it with this team. Their bench is just, you have to be a believer in Peyton Pritchard and Sam Hauser as like competent rotation players off the bench. It's like, I don't see it.
Their starting lineup is so good, though.
It is. It's very good.
Maybe the Heat will just like go through everybody again.
That's why it's like so hard. Like, there's teams like that like they just coast through the regular season because they know like, all right, we just have to make the playoffs and stay healthy, and then once we get to the playoffs, we'll turn up a notch. And like teams just come out of nowhere, and that's why it's like I think the Oklahoma Cities of the world and the Timberwolves of the world, you know, they're going to get humbled in the playoffs once they face a team that's just kind of sitting there playing duck in the pond, just waiting to turn it up. They're just sitting ducks in the pond. They're just sitting on the pond. They're just floating around. And then
That's a good metaphor.
They're just sitting tree bark, man. I don't know what to tell
you. Yeah. You can only get this content on the XCast podcast.
This is why you tune in. This is sports media coverage at its finest.
Oh yeah.
I think Eric makes a great point. And honestly, spoken from true smaller market NBA fans who have had their heart broken by the teams who have coasted through the regular season and then humbled their young team in the playoffs. So yes, I do think that the Timberwolves and Thunder will probably come down to earth in the playoffs. And I still would trust Denver more than anybody. And I think you'll see the same thing with the Suns that happened to, I guess, the Nets, where it's just like the Nets with the KD, Kyrie, and Harden, where it's just like you just don't play enough games together. You know, like it's cool that you guys have all this talent on this one team, but like you need time together, and that's a luxury that they haven't had at least this season. And then so yeah, I would just say Denver again. Um, and then in the East, probably I'm gonna say Milwaukee will figure it out.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
That's
I think they'll figure it out, and it's very clunky right now, but
yeah.
It's just hard to like say no to Dame and Giannis, like when they're both still in their primes.
yeah, in the playoffs when they're fully engaged, like
Dame is a closer, one of the best closers in league history, and Giannis is a former MVP still in his prime. So
I think their talents like are good compliments.
yeah,
I guess the only other team worth mentioning, I guess, that I want to hear your opinion on is what's your opinion on the Knicks? There's been a lot of hype about them recently. I don't think I think they could maybe at best go to the Eastern Conference Finals just because of how good Jalen Brunson's been. And I mean, once they've gotten OG and Anunoby, they've been very good. But that's just another team where it's like you have Julius Randle on your team. It's the James Harden playoff effect. Julius Randle, every year of his career when he goes to the playoffs, he turtles and he plays awful. Like James Harden is a great player, but every time he goes to the playoffs, he chokes. So I'm not bought in on the Knicks hype until Julius Randle doesn't turtle.
I'm not either. I think maybe like Cleveland has a good okay shot.
They're playing really well.
I don't know. I like what you guys are saying about the Knicks too, because I don't know, and people like if you say anything negative, especially about the New York team Knicks, like everybody's like, "Oh, how could you like say that? Like they're playing great." And it's like, man, there's only two teams that make it to the conference finals. Like, and who am I going to pick you over? I'm not
Yeah.
going to pick you over Boston. And like if it comes down, you're playing Boston in a playoff series. I mean, there's a world where the Knicks can beat the Celtics, but I'm more than
Yeah.
likely going to choose the Celtics to win that series, and I would choose Milwaukee, assuming that they figure it out. It doesn't look like a great pick right now here in February, but I'm
Just
going
gonna
to
fire their coach and get another one again.
I'm going to assume that Milwaukee can figure it out. Um, I the Cavs and Knicks, that is a tough one though. I'm I may see if I don't know. That's a coin flip for me.
The Cavs are such an interesting team to me because they have moments like they're like in this stretch they've been on where they look unbelievable. And they added Max Strus this offseason and he's been up and down, but when he's on and he's been very helpful for them. But like they just go through these spells and like it happened against the Knicks in the playoffs last year where it just turns into Donovan Mitchell ISO ball, which in a 7-game series, at least 2 of those will mean he's scoring 45 plus points, going crazy. But the other games, it's like they're just shot out of games and they have no chance. So their offense looks better, like a little more free flowing since they've added Strus and like he could really just stretch defenders around. But I don't know a great read on them. I'm just gonna have to see in the playoff. Like I don't know what version of the Cavs are gonna show up in the playoffs because like there's a scenario where they can get hot and go to the Eastern Conference Finals, but I mean, like last year they had a lot of hype going into the playoffs and then they laid an egg against the Knicks. So I can't get a read on them.
I agree. They could be less reliant on Mitchell scoring for sure.
Yeah, like what Caleb said, like all that matters is can you beat the Celtics 4 times? Can you beat the Bucks 4 times? No,
Or the Heat.
like probably not.
Why not? Who's guarding Giannis? Who's shutting down Giannis 4 times on the Knicks? Harkenstein?
Frankenstein.
Like Julius Randle? No.
Maybe.
No. Yeah, I agree with that. That's what I've learned. Biggest takeaway over the years of basketball, specifically like with the Grizzlies playoff stuff, is like that's all that matters. Is like just ask yourself, can this roster beat this team 4 times in the playoffs? And if the answer is not like a definitive yes, then it's probably not great. I mean, it's not always going to be a definitive yes because there's obviously some great series, but like when you're evaluating other teams' chances, usually it's pretty cut and dry of whether or not you can win 4 games.
Right. Well, did you guys have anything else that y'all wanted to cover? Any more other NBA stuff?
I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah.
Y'all were able to catch other Grizzlies games. How was the Grizzlies games that y'all were able to catch since we last spoke? I don't even know if we talked about them last time that we were on. I know, Luke, like you briefly touched on the Wizards game that you caught, but like you were able to catch one during the holidays, right?
Yeah. So the Wizards one was in DC. I think I saw them play the Kings. Like around New Year, they lost that one. Yeah. It was fun to go, but tough.
I was at the best game I could have possibly went to this season, but it doesn't even count. It's not even relevant anymore. It was the Ja home opener return game against the Pacers when he played awesome. The forum was packed. Like the environment was awesome. Like it felt like a playoff game. Everyone was so hyped. I was with Caleb, and that was a great game. Luke, thanks for the invite. Be like me and Caleb were at Rendezvous, and we're sitting there. Guys, like the waiters are like, "Jaw back."
We were like 12 gonna turn up. 12's gonna turn up tonight.
I don't even think there was a wait last night.
No.
So
Yeah, the city was buzzing that night. That was a great night.
Yeah,
that was very fun.
It for real felt like a playoff game. Yeah, but then I was able to catch when they played the Pacers here in Indy. Got there like super early. Yeah, it was. I mean, basically nobody played. Jaren was the only star that played. Bane was hurt. Vince played though, and I was able to when I was down there early, sat in the lower bowl. It was like talking to one of his former high school teammates, and like Vince just like came up, like dapped him up or whatever, and like after he left, I was like, "How do you know Vince?" He was like, "I played high school with him," and he was like, "Dude, he was like LeBron in high school. Like, he's just insane." And I was like, that's cool. He was like, and he would just be talking crazy. He's like, bro, you think he talks trash now? Like, he would be insane in high school. Like every possession, just like barking at somebody the entire time. I was like, that's crazy. That was crazy. And then
and you got on the go ahead.
Oh, dude, yeah, that was cool. Yeah, I saw Devin walk by because I was there just like so early. I was wearing this jersey actually, and I was like, Devin was just like, pop the jersey. And I was like, all right, and yeah, dapped him up. Devin was cool. But yeah, lost the game. I mean, it was a good game. I didn't expect us to win, especially because like the Pacers are playing pretty good, even though they didn't have Halliburton in that game. But dude, I was so mad because I was like, nobody can guard Jaren. I was like, just throw the ball to Jaren in the low post every single possession, especially because we don't have Ja or Bane. Like, give Jaren a low post touch every single possession. Like, they can't guard you. If he misses, it's because he botched the shot.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was a good game. I was like the only one like I was like the only Grizz fan. And I mean, I'll take that back. There was like a decent amount of kids wearing Jaw jerseys because Jaw is popular with the kids. But
Yeah.
it was fun. It was a good game.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, that's all we got. That'll be it for us. Signing off for now. This has been the Axe Cast with Luke Enemark, Eric Parmenter, and Caleb Cohn. We will talk to you guys next time.